everyone, I am John Daniel Bsba from Bsba FM2A. For this week, we are tasked to create a vlog for our subject, Science, Technology, and Society, which must contain the STS in Philippine context. Now, this video will tackle about the development stages of science and technology here in our country, starting from pre-colonization era to our present time. Without further ado, let's start.
Early Filipinos already had their own culture and tradition before the coming of the colonizer. Their own system of belief and indigenous knowledge helped them to thrive and survive their lives and communities for many years. The scientific knowledge of Filipino people before the pre-Spanish times were incorporated already to their way of the such in planning their crops that provide them food, in taking care of animals to help them in their daily tasks and in their food production.
Early and indigenous science were used by the Filipino in preparing the soil for agricultural purposes, interpreting movements for heavenly bodies to predict seasons, documenting the uses of medical plants. Technology is used by people in building houses, irrigation, and in developing tools that they can use in everyday lives. They develop tools for planting, hunting, cooking, and fishing, for fighting their enemies during war and tribal conflicts, and for transportation both on land and on waterways. They also develop technologies in creating musical instruments.
Indigenous science. According to Kahete, 2004, indigenous science includes everything from metaphysics to philosophy and various practical technologies practiced by indigenous peoples, both past and present. Iacarino, 2003, elaborated this idea by explaining that science is part of culture, and how science is done largely depends on the cultural practices of the people. Indigenous science use science process skills such as observing, comparing, classifying, measuring, problem solving, inferring, communicating, and predicting.
Indigenous science is guided by culture and community values such as the following. The land is the source of life. It is the precious gift from the Creator. The earth is revered as Mother Earth. It is the origin of their identity as people. All living and non-living things are interconnected and interdependent with each other. Human beings are stewards or trustee of the land and other natural resources. They have responsibility to preserve it. Nature is a friend to human beings. It needs respect and proper care.
During Metal Age, artifacts were also found in different regions of the country, which signified that early Filipino utilized these tools on their daily living. The sophisticated designs of gold and silver jewelry, ceramics, and metal tools prove that their technological ideas help in the development of different tools. Also, trading with China, Indonesia, Japan, and other nearby countries have influenced their lives by providing different opportunities for cultural and technological exchange. All these ancient practices in science and technology are considered now as indigenous science or folk science.
Spaniards colonized the country, they brought with them their own cultures and practices. They established schools for boys and girls and introduced the concept of subject and discipline. It was the beginning of formal science and technology in the country that focuses on understanding different concepts related to human body, animals, plants, and heavenly bodies. Life during Spanish era became modernized. adopting some Western technology and its way of life. The Filipino developed a ways to replicate the technologies brought by the Spaniards by using indigenous materials. Medicines and advanced science were introduced in formal colleges and universities established by the Catholic orders.
The galleon trade has brought additional technology and development in the Philippines. Although it is only beneficial for the Spaniards, these trades allowed other ideas, crafts, tools, cultural practices, technology, and Western practices to reach the country. Some Filipino students who were able to study in Europe also contributed to the advancement of medicine, engineering, arts, music, and literature in the country. The Philippines, being one of the centers of global trade in Southeast Asia during that time, was considered to be one of the most development places in the region.
The Americans have more influence in the development of science and technology in the Philippines compared to the Spaniards. They established the public education system, improved engineering works, and the health condition of the people. They established a Mode Research University, the University of the Philippines, and create more public hospital than the former colonial master. The mineral resources of the country were also explored and exploited during the American times. Transportation and communication improved, though not accessible throughout the country.
The desire of the Americans to develop the human resources of the Philippines to serve their own interests is somehow beneficial in the country. This allowed American scholars to introduce new knowledge and technology in the country. However, World War II has destabilized the development of the country in many ways. Institutions and public facilities were turned into ashes. Houses were burned and many lives were destroyed. The country had a difficult time to rebuild itself from the ruin of the war.
The human spirit to survive and to rebuild the country may be strong, but the capacity of the country to bring back what was destroyed was limited. The reparation funds focus on building some institutions and public facilities like schools, hospitals, and transportation system. The reparation from Japan was also concentrated on building highways and in providing technological training and human resource development in the country.
Since the establishment as the new republic, the whole nation has been focusing on using its limited resources in improving science and technological capability. It explored the use of ODA or Overseas Development Allocation from different countries to help the country to improve scientific productivity and technological capability. Human resource development is at the heart of these efforts, focusing on producing more scientists, doctors, engineers, technology experts, and other professional country.
The Philippine government introduced and implemented by the several programs, projects, and policies to boost the area of science and technology. The goal is to prepare the whole country and its people to meet the demands of a technologically driven world and capacitate the people to be in a world driven by science. The next is the National Science Development Board on June 13, 1958 was created and it was reconstituted as the National Science Technology Authority on March 17, 1981. A vision of competent and competitive science and technology community with a social conscience.
Padilla, Concepcion, reported that in 2015, in response to the ASEAN 2015 agenda, the government, particularly the Department of Science and Technology, has sought the expertise
of National Research Council of the Philippines to consult various sectors of the society to study how Philippines can prepare itself in meeting the ASEAN 2015 goals. As a result of the consultation, the NSRP is expected to recommend policies and programs that will improve the competitiveness of the Philippines in the ASEAN region.
There are many other areas and fields that the country is looking forward to embark various research and projects. The following are some. First, use of alternatives and safe energy. Second, harnessing mineral resources. Third, finding cure for various diseases and illness. Fourth, climate change and global warming. Fifth, increasing food production. Sixth, preservation of natural resources. Seventh, coping with natural disasters and calamities. Eighth, infrastructure development.
The Philippine Congress has also created various laws related to science and technology. These laws serve as a legal framework for science and technology in the country. These laws vary according to different themes, such as conservation, health-related, technology building, and supporting basic research, among others. Some laws and policies are in line with international agencies such as UN or United Nations, UNESCO or United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, ASEAN or Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and other international agencies.
Famous Filipino in the field of science. School science is filled with names of foreign scientists. Einstein, Galileo Galilei, Newton, Faraday, Darwin, and many other Western scientists. We rarely hear of Filipino scientists being discussed in science classes. Leichua identified 10 outstanding Filipino scientists who have made significant contributions in the Philippine science. These scientists are also famous abroad, especially in different science disciplines, and they are agriculture, mathematics, physics, medicine, marine science, chemistry, engineering, and biology.
The Philippine scientists are Ramon Cabanos Barbara for his outstanding research on tissue culture in Philippine mangoes. Josepino Cacas Comiso for his work on observing the characteristic of Antarctica by using satellite images. Jose Vega Cruz Jr., known internationally in the field of electrical engineering, was elected as officer of the Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Lourdes Jansoy Cruz, notable for her research on sea snail venom. Fabian Millar J. Mint, for his research on verbal medicine.
Rafael Dineros Guerrero III for his research on tilapia culture, and Enrique Mapua Estrella Jr. for inventing the meconium drug testing, and Lilial Pormaleo Patena for doing research on plant biotechnology, and Marija Panganiban Ruiz for being outstanding educator and grad tourist, and Gregory Ligot Tangonan for his research in the field of communication technology.
There are other outstanding Filipino scientists who are recognized here and abroad for their outstanding contribution in science. The first one, Cesar A. Saloma, an internationally renowned physicist. Second, Eduardo Gomez, famous scientist in marine science. Third, William Padolina, chemistry and president of the National Academy of Science and Technology in the Philippines. And the last, Angel Alcala, marine science.
There are other scientists in the Philippines who were not identified in the list. Many Filipino scientists, whether they're in the country or abroad, always excel in their job. Many of these Filipino scientists are products of good school science. It means they were taught and inspired by the great teachers. Their interest in science started manifest during their childhood days. The natural environment ignited their curiosity to learn more about the natural and physical environment. The school and laboratories where they studied and
Philippines still need more scientists and engineers, and there is a need to support scientific research in the country. We lack even the minimum numbers of scientists and technologists needed for innovation-driven development. As a result, we suffer from low industrial and agricultural productivity, overall inefficiency, and a meager output of knowledge products such as scientific publications, patents, and innovations. The government must find ways to establish more research laboratories and research institutes. There is also a need to find ways on how the researches are disseminated to the public.
Philippines are rich with history and culture. Filipinos during the early times tried to invent tools that will help them in their daily living. They preserve this by passing it down to children using indigenous knowledge system, where parents and other older folks serve as their first teachers. Their methods of teaching is very effective in transmitting cultural knowledge into their minds. This is where science and technology started in the Philippines. Now, this ends our video. I hope you learned something with our blog and thank you for watching.